I got an excess of black bile, high irascibility, contemplating checking myself into facility, mental ability clearly affected, deep in the dumps, down and dejected.
I've been in low power mode, in low power mode, been in low power mode all year. Think it's time to switch it up to high gear. I've been in low. I've been in low power mode all year. Think it's time to switch it up to high gear.
Hello. Welcome to the second episode of Low Power Mode with Breezy. I'm your host, Breezy, and this is, no, I don't know. That's not the energy of this. Welcome back. This is exciting. You know, it's nerve-wracking to do a podcast on your own. So when you actually can sit down and do it and get yourself situated and in the zone, it's exciting, especially for an extremely depressed person. So thank you for being here. I promise it won't be Moby-Dopey Eeyore times, because I love each and every artist / like piece of art that I will be talking about on this podcast. So I want to get right into it. But also I wanted to hit you with the tagline, "This is my safe space to discuss music, TV, and film that lies at the intersection of Black and queer and all other sorts of transgressive shit." Okay, so with that, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to hop into high power mode. Music. All right, welcome back. Welcome to the music section. And I'm going to be talking about one song and one music video from one artist, none other than my brother in rap, Groovyie. Groovyie, for those of you who haven't heard of him. What can I say? Veterans Park legend, brown skin baby. Yeah, damn, it's hard to talk about your like people who you revere so much because it's like where to start. But I met Groovyie at school at Johnston Center of Integrative Studies, shout out Johnston, in Redlands, California, so like about an hour east of LA. And we both loved rap and hip hop, and I had a little thing going at the college, and he came through before he was a student, and like instantly it's like, okay, you know, the spirit is there. It's just gonna be a caterpillar butterfly situation. And yeah, it's been such a blessing to be able to see this artist grow. Damn, so many projects, starting on SoundCloud and then starting to distribute on Spotify, and Love G is one of my favorites. But the latest is Veterans Park. And Groovyie, IE is Inland Empire. Groovie's from Fontana. And Veterans Park is the park in his hood. And where do we start again? Okay, so I'm thinking about work. I'm thinking about when I was in LA with City Year in 2008 or 9, and we went to this screening. Like City Year would hook us up with tickets for stuff, and so we got tickets to this documentary called The Crips and the Bloods Made in America. And it was like Stacy Peralta directed it, and he was like the Dogtown Z Boys, like Lords of Dogtown skater dude. So I was like, what is going on with this? This white skater dude doing a movie about the Crips and the Bloods in LA. But I mean, at the same time, this is exactly what needs to be happening. And it was so dope to go and watch that film and see the communities that we were working in and living in, and and how easy it is to get locked up if you're Black and poor. And it was crazy to have like this white director behind this exposition, but it was fucking awesome. And it helped like round out my understanding of gang violence in LA. So, I mean, and all, you know, like you have Tupac, you have like Snoop and NWA, like you have like gangster rap, you know? And I think one of the reasons why I was drawn to LA, South Central LA specifically, was because of Tupac. I was like, I need to see what the hell's going on, Marvin Gaye style. And so all this to say, at the end of the screening, we got to talk to some people featured in the film. And Skip Townsend, he was featured in the film. He had a double life sentence from being involved in gang violence in LA. And he, because of his restorative and like reparative work within the gang violence communities, he was able to like eventually reduce his sentence and then like get let off and do this work. So he started this organization called Second Call. And at that time I was kind of, I like met him and I went down there and I saw what he was doing. And he would take a blood and take a Crip and sit them down at the same table and talk it out. So it was, you know, when you see this when you're, let's see, I was 19 when I moved to LA. So 20, I was 20 years old. Like you see this sort of work and you're like, it just, it's pretty mind blowing. And all this to say, all of my Black and brown, cis male friends from LA have been involved in gang violence. And I understand at this point how the societal pressures didn't allow for there to be much choice in the matter, even though one would judge or think, well, you could just do this, you could just do that. No, it's way more complicated. And if you don't have money and there's money and community available to you, you know. And so I want to back up the BTFU music video off of Groovyie's Veterans Park. All this is a mouthful. But yeah, I want to back it up with this, not that like my experiences with gang violence and with homies who have been involved in that sort of stuff. And and I want to speak, you know, like if you're a listener who's not from a city where it's an issue, then it seems like this, I don't know, it seems like this mafia kind of thing, but it's really less that and more a reality of growing up in a city and not having, again, a lot of opportunities or resources, but finding family among other people who also don't have those things. So this video, this song is fucking fierce. For me, it's giving lost member of TDE. It's a fucking masterpiece. And so you gotta just go to your YouTube and type in Groovyie and then IE, Groovyie IE, like Inland Empire. He made it so easy to find him. You know, they call Schoolboy Q Groovy, so he also like differentiated himself while also paying homage to Schoolboy Q. I don't know. It's all great. So BTFU was instantly my favorite song off Veterans Park because it bangs so hard and I fucking love that shit. Like I love like a good rap banger. And I really felt that like Kendrick Schoolboy energy in this. So, you know, two of my top favorite rappers. So I was dying. Early on, you get these images of TVs, you know, like the static TVs all stacked up, looking like SZA's Control album cover, and Groove is there with like a bucket hat and these yellow pants that look like they were left behind by Basquiat. I mean, the styling and then like lighting, location. I mean, this video is just so professional is my thing. Like it takes me like a whole ass year and funding and a shit ton of people to get this shit done. And Groove just, it just all feels so seamless and easy. I know it isn't. I know for a fact it isn't. But yeah, this shit is so good. He goes so hard. The flows are ridiculous. Like the reason why I wanted to talk about this song today is because I had one of like the moments of the flows from this song in my head, stuck in my head. I was like, what is, oh shit. Like I gotta pay some homage to this greatness. Oh, I loved also the shipping container. Damn. Like shooting inside a shipping container is already brilliant because it's like so basic, and yet the texture and everything in there is so awesome, and you can light it, and it's small, and I don't know. Brilliant. And there's also gravity and story in this music video. I feel like it's the next chapter after Groove Wop off of Groovie's last album. Wait. Damn it, blanking. Too much weed. Sorry. I know Bitch I'm Chosen was on that one too. But anyway, music video wise, like if you watch the Groove Wop music video and then you watch BTFU, I feel like BTFU is the graduation. It's so good. I'm just so happy to know this individual who's just killing it in the game and a fellow, you know, LA area and beyond, aka IE rapper. And yeah, Groovyie's just got that like hustle and spirit and stuff where, you know, he's just on the way up. So definitely look out for this artist. One of my favorite things nowadays to catch an artist before they blow up and start working with Justin Bieber and shit. So I know Groove. Well, actually I don't know. I'll have to ask him. But yeah, the main point here is go to YouTube, type in Groovyie IE, and check out the music videos, check out the whole Veterans Park album, the collabs, Ian Kelly. Like there's so much good shit on there. He got legends of LA rap on this album. I don't even want to spoil it. So go check it out. Go buy the music. You can buy on Bandcamp. You can pay what you want. You could pay $5. You could pay $50. But definitely buy Groovie's music. Much love. And that's the end of the music section. Television. Hey, what up? Welcome back. So here's where we're gonna break down some TV, and I want to start with something related to Betty White, who unless you've been living under a rock, you have heard of her passing right before she was about to turn 100, I think. So wild. What a life, you know? That's so many years to be on the earth. It kind of stresses me out to think about. But wow, what a legend, what a comedian, what an incredible actress. The timing, her like playing kind of dumb, but actually stabbing you with my words with a cute little smile and a blink. Like, oh, wow. I don't feel like I lost anything by her passing. I know sometimes people feel like when people die, it's like, oh, they were taken from me or something like this. I'm so grateful to know Betty White's work and know her story. She's just so influential, so in TV, in beyond, and someone who kind of stuck up for the underdog. So that brings me to okay, I know what you think. I know you think I'm going to say Golden Girls, but I'm not. Brings me to The Golden Palace. Who's heard of it? Anybody? Oh, wait. I'm not on stage. The Golden Palace was something that popped up on Hulu, I guess right after she passed. Hulu was like, all right, let's snag the rights to this one season spinoff. But excuse me, of course, it was a spinoff from the epic and timeless Golden Girls. If you haven't seen Golden Girls, go ahead and do what you need to do in order to watch Golden Girls, because it's so funny, so poignant, and so smart, and really nice thing to watch, especially during the pandemic. Like, I'm watching it before I go to bed lately. I was watching Twilight Zone. They're both so good, but Golden Girls it makes you feel really familiar, and like they're your grannies. So if you don't have any more grandparents left like me, definitely watch Golden Girls and have a laugh or two. It's like obviously the precedent for like Grace and Frankie and stuff, even though Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin are similar, like, they must not be that much younger than Betty White, but yeah. So, The Golden Palace. So, if you haven't seen Golden Girls, the premise is that Blanche, this sort of married, wealthy Southern belle, widowed and left the house in Miami, and she finds roommates. So first she finds Rose, then Dorothy, and her mother, Sophia. And they all live together, and it's 7 years of jokes and pranks and adventures and tears and laughter and joy. It's so much fun. But then at the very end, well, I guess I won't spoil, but it's like, no, this whole show is spoilers, so deal with it. So the very end, Dorothy gets married, and so she goes off to live, and she wants to take her mother with her, but Sophia's like, no, I'd rather live with Rose and Blanche. So the three of them sell the house and buy a hotel on the Strip, and it is so funny and so good. Okay, I didn't just fart. That was me adjusting in my chair. Some of the things that I love are Don Cheadle is one of the main characters, and he plays the hotel, like the previous owner's hotel manager. And so the three of them end up taking him on as the hotel manager. But his character is so funny. He plays a very like nervous Nelly, like very, worried about the higher ups and anxious and stuff. It's just hysterical. Oh my God. And then adding to the mix, you have Cheech Marin, which I had heard of Cheech and Chong, like, obviously ever since my pot smoking days. But oh my God, I never seen him. And Cheech is hilarious in the Golden Palace. I mean, the timing, the weed jokes, the commentary on being Mexican, and it's just fun and ridiculous, you know, but it also has so much heart. And they only made one season of it, but of course, B. Arthur as Dorothy comes back and graces us with an episode or two. And you see so many people come through the show. It's so funny. Like, you see Kim Fields from Living Singles on there. Jack Black plays like a cab driver on there. Who else? It's just hilarious. Some of the, like, you see how these sitcoms become these platforms for other actors and comedians to come up through the ranks and get more roles and stuff. They'll come on for an episode or two, and it's just so fun to spot someone who has become like so famous, or you're like, I know that person from something. What is it? And then you see, oh my God, this is a young, you know, fill in the blank, like seeing George Clooney on The Golden Girls. It's like, oh my God, are you even 20 years old yet? Like, so wild, so fun. Yeah, The Golden Palace, it's one season. I think there's like 24 episodes. It's so good. It's so good. Oh, and I have to talk about my favorite moment. Okay, so everyone just kind of like accepts that Blanche is like this Southern, like Southern Belle Confederate, you know, or daughter of a Confederate, who doesn't really deal with that during the span of the Golden Girls. But in the Golden Palace, it feels a bit more loose around the edges, more raunchy, more like, let's like really hit home, like go for certain stuff. So there's this group of Southern ladies of the Confederate, or whatever the hell, coming to Miami to stay at the hotel, and they need the business. It's a lot of ladies, and so she goes and hangs the Confederate flag, and he's like, you need to take that down. And she's like, well, no, they're gonna love this. And he's like, you need to take that shit down. That is not a good, that this is not okay for me. And she's like, no, well, but like my father, you know, memories of this and that and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, don't care if you don't take it down, looking for another job. So she continues to leave it up. He ends up seeing it still up later on and is like, what the fuck? This is some bullshit. And he lives in the hotel. So he goes to like get ready to quit and stuff. And later on he comes down and Blanche is at the desk behind the Confederate flag, you know, hanging on this on the front desk. And one of the ladies is at the desk and she is checking the lady out or something like that. And he's like, Blanche, this is unacceptable, you know, like I'm out. I quit. I can't do this anymore, you know. And he says something in jest, and the lady at the desk is like, he seems like a good one. You should keep him around. And she kind of realizes like, oh shit, I see, like this is not adding up. So she goes to him and she's like, no, please don't leave. Don't quit. Don't leave. And he's like, how can I stay knowing that you believe in something that symbolizes brutal deaths of my people, something that harasses me to this day when I walk around with my friends? How can I stay? and she's like, well, if I have to believe that you know, if I have to believe that that flag represents like racism, then, you know, then I would be, you know, like this, like hitting her over the head, like, yes, Blanche, you, everyone is racist, right? We have to learn how to be anti-racist, but Blanche, you are definitely, yes. I mean, she thought lesbian was Lebanese, you know? And so yeah, it's kind of nice to see this reckoning and to see this idea of Blanche, but like less in their private home and more out in the real world, and having to confront the things such as race of the race of one of her employees and how it's going to affect the way she conducts her business and stuff. And I don't know, like, I love seeing shit like that. I know it's so after school special, but I love seeing shit like that. It's so important because so many people see these shows, they're syndicated, blah, blah, blah. So to see, you know, this dark-skinned black man being like, absolutely not, I'm not sticking around if you're going to have a Confederate flag. And one of our most beloved TV characters having to reckon with her understanding around race and her father's like role in it. Pretty good TV. So I highly recommend The Golden Palace. If you want to like mix it in with your Golden Girls. And just so great to see Betty White and Sophia Estelle Getty doing their thing as well. It's just, you know, the camaraderie and the timing and the jokes, and it's just so much fun and light, and with a touch of like enough realness so that you feel this is good. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break, and then we are going to either talk about another show or move to film, depending on what time it is. Hold on one second. Let me see. Okay, well, I'll find a comfier position at some point. But welcome back. I want to talk about RuPaul's Drag Race season 14. When I first moved to Berlin to really make it as an artist, it was like 2015, 2016 was the year that I went to study music production, and then I came for 3 months in 2018 to perform. But in 2019, in the fall, I was between Atlanta and Berlin, and Atlanta was so much more expensive. So I was like, okay, let's go back to Berlin. Let's make this work. Went to Berlin and stayed with Frikadella and her wife at the time, Uta, and it was fun. She introduced me to drag. Like she was a big Drag Race fan, and so I was like, okay, I need to see what this is about, because I've heard RuPaul Drag Race, and I knew like RuPaul in regards to the Supermodel song, like in music and stuff. But I started watching Drag Race in probably September or October of 2019. And ever since, it's just like been such a nice lift, like such a nice buoy, I would say, while I am discovering my own self and like my queerness and androgynous looks and, you know, sexuality and like understanding these things. It's just like so helpful to have a whole bunch of people every year get on reality TV and talk about like their different situations when it comes. It's not just gay men. gay men, what does that mean? Like, yes, you can be gay and only have sex with men until you meet, I don't know, a non-binary person who you want to have sex. You know what I mean? It's just like very, very fluid. So, yeah. So I've been, a huge fan and turning people on as well since that time. But see, there's something about season 14, and I guess in the past few years, RuPaul has done so many different shows, and he's like a marketing genius or whatever. So he has all these different ideas to do all these different shows, All Stars and Untucked and Drag You and all these things. And I think all the queers love it, but I think that I think at some point it was like, okay, is this a little bit too much? And now that we're in season of Drag Race, of airing Drag Race, and it's season 14, so it's been so long, and it's such a stalwart within reality TV, Emmy on Emmy and all this stuff. Broken into mainstream culture, like I could go on, but it's so fun to see RuPaul at this point. And if you're all caught up and you've seen episode 3, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I want to talk about the queens first. Some of the queens I that are standing out to me, obviously, Cornbread, the snack de jeté, incredible queen from the South, living in LA now, and she and Carrie Colby, also from the South but living in LA, and Carrie, a proud trans woman, Black trans woman. They were talking about like how people in the South think that we need Jesus, but they're the ones who actually need, like, you come out of there and you're like, oh, they need Jesus. And so great to see that. We've got Angeria, what is it, Paris Van Michael, I forget the whole name, it's kind of long, but fierce queen. We're getting a bit of Jada Essence Hall energy. We're getting a bit of, she did an original song. Any queen. Okay, so they did a country music, a play on country music instead of CMT, country music, something with a T. They did CNT, like playing. Yeah, so country. Oh my God, I can't remember what it stood for. Something awards. And so they do the talent show that they do from All Stars. And they did a split season also. So half the queens in the first episode, half the queens in the second episode, and then third is when everyone's actually together. But any queen who does their own original song, like has recorded it and then lip syncs to it and can dance, and then for me on top of that, like, who's Black, like, oh my God, like, you're already such a star to me. So already Angeria and Cornbread like have my heart from their talent show performances. But also Willow Pill is someone who I relate to so much. Obviously, I do not have the same condition as Willow Pill. Willow sounds like they go through a lot of really intense medical stuff that really fucking sucks. And wow, so relatable for me. And also like the darkness and the sickness, and also like the beauty in that. And Willow did an awesome performance. If you're very cynical and dark and depressed like me, this was amazing. Basically, she comes out there, the song was perfect, she's in a robe, it's like it feels like older times. There's a bathtub with claws, and she starts, she has a wine glass, so she's singing along, has some wine. She pours some wine in the bath. Then she sits down at this small table, there's spaghetti and meatballs. She starts eating spaghetti and meatballs. Oh, she loves it. And then, goes in the bath. Then she's got a toaster. She's got a toaster. The toaster goes in the bath. And then finally she goes in the bath. And then she like does this electric shock from the bathtub at the end. It was hilarious. It was hysterical. It was amazing. She did a little reveal into like a bikini thing before she went into the bathtub. But wow. I love to see that style of drag with a skit that really like says something, but it's a lip sync. It's just like everything, concept. Love it. And yeah, I just, wow. When I saw Willow Pill in that first episode and heard about a little bit about her and what she deals with, I was just like, wow, I feel represented. So Willow's up there for me. I think Bosco from Seattle is also like quirky and stylish and a strong contender. We've got Maddie Morphosis, the first ever straight. I was like, I couldn't even believe it when I said it. Straight, like cis man to compete on RuPaul's Drag Race in herstory. So that's pretty crazy. And she's been holding her own. You know, she's doing okay. Alyssa Hunter, so gorgeous. Probably trade of the season from Puerto Rico. So good. So good. We've got like some pageant vibes there. And it was fun. Rue brought back, like they chopped one person for each of the first premiere episodes, and then they brought them all back for episode number 3, where episode number 3, where they actually had to make an elimination. So, I could go on and on and on about the queens. June Jambalaya. Who else? And now I, of course, can't think of anyone else. But I want to talk about RuPaul. RuPaul is feeling herself this season. I noticed on YouTube a few weeks before the season premiere, she came out with this music video on YouTube for her track Catwalk off of her latest album Mama Ru. And it's a really fun kind of like loungy, like hip hop and chill, like chill hop sort of electronic, like fun kind of house situation. But the music video, the budget must have been like, I don't know, like $100. So I was just like, wow, this is so interesting. It looks like Rue went to the studio, said, let's grab a camera, go to the parking lot, and use a lot of different effects and filters and stuff. So for me, someone who values the form of music video so much, I was like, wow, this is interesting. But then on episode 1, for the talent show, she comes out there with her dancers and she does a lip sync to Catwalk, and it's so fun. She's feeling herself. So cool to see, you know, and I'm sure that's why she did a low-key music video, because she knew she was going to do this for the show. So cool. I love it. Go Mama Ru. And then okay, so I've also been listening to What's the Tea, which is the podcast that RuPaul does with Michelle Visage, and it's so fun. And they have like queens on, they have divas on, they have people who have been on Drag Race as guests on. They have like 5 or so years of this podcast. So I'm still early on, but hearing Ru talk, it's so funny. You know, I think podcasting is like the closest you can kind of get to someone through the media. And she jokes all the time and about like plastic surgery and enemas and wrestling or whatever it's called, and like all of this stuff. So like when she started acting so goofy on episode 3, I was like, is she does she have a coffee enema? Because I know she doesn't do drugs or alcohol anymore. And, and then as the episode goes on, she so clearly does. And like, I don't know if she didn't test it out or what was going on, but she was so highly caffeinated. She was making fun of herself. It's hilarious. I love it. I love to see it. I love to see this beautiful human just cracking herself up. I saw an interview with RuPaul and Arsenio from 2014, Arsenio Hall, and in the interview she says something so light, and she's not even in drag. She's RuPaul as the man, and RuPaul's like, yeah, we have so much fun over there. And I was like, that is everything. Oh my God. To be in a place where you're having fun. And obviously, if you watch Drag Race, you can see that they're having fun. But still, for a scripted reality TV show, it is, oh my God, it's just awesome. And it's awesome to see that they don't shy away from like the pain and the trauma as well. You know, like the Black Lives Matter conversation among the queens, and like the trans queer, like the Black trans women getting killed every day conversation. And like, it's so important for the world to see. And, you know, for her to have built this yada yada, like I could do a whole podcast just on RuPaul, but it's just awesome to see Black queers so comfortable that they can overdo it on a coffee enema during shooting, and it goes out to the world. And I'm sure she would laugh and wave her hand and be like, don't take life too seriously. You know, it's just wonderful. So if you're not up on Drag Race, you don't have to be. Like, you can just start at anywhere you want, at whatever season, whatever episode. And a lot of places do watch parties. Obviously, it's COVID, so you have to be extremely careful with vaccination card and mask and that sort of thing. But highly, 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 highly recommend you join in on the RuPaul fun. It's so fun. All right, I'm going to end it here, and we'll move on to the film section. Movies. Film. Hello. Okay, we're back. Oh dear, looks like there's something going on. Nope. Okay, we're good. We're good. Okay. So welcome back to Low Power Mode with Breezy. Thank you for joining me for the music section where we talked about Groovyie. Thank you for joining me in the TV section where we talked about the Golden Palace, spinoff of Golden Girls, and RuPaul's Drag Race Season 14. And now I want to talk about Candyman. Now, before you freak out, I have some things to say. And I'm not facing a mirror, so I'm not saying Candyman several times in front of a mirror. So if you're freaked out from the legend, I respect that, and not testing anything today. So, again, it's so hard because it's like, oh my God, where do I even start? Background. When Get Out came out in 2017, you know, the Jordan Peele Monkey Paw production film, that changed my life. Really, truly. I saw, wow, okay, horror, racial horror film. I saw so many things unlock in my brain after Get Out came out. And then Jordan Peele gave Us. I was like, gave us, gave us to us. No. Then Jordan Peele's next movie was Us. Oh my God. And again, just incredible. I love a piece of art, especially a film or a theater, piece that has relevance in the politics or whatever time era that it is, and that plays into everything, because nothing happens in a vacuum. So all of those things of setting are so important, and also taking stories, taking real people's stories, taking fictional stories, taking these things and making it into this beautiful piece of artwork that makes you learn about so many other things. And that, to me, is Nia DaCosta's Candyman, the spiritual sequel from the 1992 Candyman. Now, a couple more things of background. I went and watched Nia because I was like, when you see a young Black girl, like she's 32 or something right now. So when you see a young Black woman in Hollywood, you gonna do some Wikipediaing, okay? And I root for all of these folks. So I'm so happy to see another one. So I've been sleeping on Nia DaCosta, and I went and watched her. Apparently she fell in love with Scorsese, went to work at his production company, ended up working with him and other big name directors on films. And then she directed her first film as a part of this like Sundance program called Little Woods. And it's about two sisters in, oh God, is it North Dakota? I think it's North Dakota or South Dakota. No, North Dakota. It's like, because it's close to the border of Canada, and how their mother died, and they have this house left over, and there was like medication that they needed that they had to get over the border, and Tessa Thompson is the lead, like the main character, and I am such a huge fan. I mean, talk about like Black queen, queer goddess, her and Janelle Monáe. But I digress. She also executive produced this film, which I noticed she does a lot with her film like Passing. I want to talk about that eventually. But so I think it was like, they met at this Sundance thing, and then they made this, with a lot of other people, helped to make this Little Woods movie. But that is what put Nia DaCosta on the map, and it's incredible. It's a really good movie, really good drama. Excuse me. So I watched Little Woods, and then I was like, I need to, prep for this purchase, because it's also like $5.99 on Amazon Prime, which is not a big deal, but I'm also like, if I'm going to spend some money, let me be ready, let this not be like a spur of the moment thing. So after doing that prep, sat down to watch Candyman, and I was ready to be freaked out, but it was nice and early in the day. So I was like, okay, like, it's going to be okay. And damn, I gotta say again, I shouldn't have been surprised, because Jordan Peele, Wynn Rosenfeld, and Nia DaCosta wrote, and directed this film, or wrote and then Nia directed. But again, an amazing mix of stories where you're taking like folklore, and you're taking a real Black community, and you're taking horror movie, and you're taking all of these elements. You're taking like previous stories and making something. And I gotta say, for people who are like, I'm not really into horror as a genre, but I saw Get Out, you can see Candyman. Like, you can watch and appreciate Candyman. Us is intense. I want to say Us is like a bit scarier than Get Out, but if you sat through Us, you can watch Candyman. It's, there may be one or two like slight jump scares, but it's way less about that and way more about the story. So, oh my God, all of that time just setting it up. So I'm not going to do too much recap. Again, I'm just going to tell you what this film meant to me and my experience of watching it. So I watched it, and then and by the end it's also like you can kind of guess and understand what's happening, and then by the end you see, but it was so good. And at the end they give this link, candyman.com / like social impact or impact, and there's this whole social impact initiative, and it's talking about systemic oppression in like systemic racism and all this stuff, and it's amazing. So I got to watch this clip of I think it's Coleman Domingo and a bunch of other critics and people in Black mental health and Black horror talk about the film. And some of what I'll talk about now is definitely borrowed and influenced from their conversation. But essentially, you have, and I'm going to talk about the sequel, the original, a bit later, because I watched the sequel after I saw this one like twice. So we start out in a newly renovated luxury loft that was once, or kind of like in the same vicinity as Cabrini Green, the notoriously infamous housing project that was so much shit went down. I think they said this is an actual housing project, and in 1981 like 40 people were shot and killed, or like 11 people were killed and 37 people shot at this housing project. Like, we're not fucking around, you know what I mean? And it's not South Side, it's closer to like it's even closer to like downtown and like the, you know, like where the rich people live. So we start out in this beautiful Black couple. So it's Yahya Abdul-Mateen II playing the character of Anthony McCoy, and Teyona Paris playing Brianna. And, you know, coincidence that she's named Brianna, like, and Breonna Taylor, you know, was one of the people known in the Black community to have been a victim of police violence, you know, murdered by police with like a no-knock warrant. I think not. Coincidence? I think not. So this beautiful couple moved into this apartment. They're in the art world. He's a painter. She's a dealer. And her brother and his partner come over. Her brother is Black. His partner is white. And there's some interesting energy there. But he is telling them the stories of because he works in Chicago real estate. He was telling them not to move there because the ghost stories and this and that. It used to be called like Sleepy Hollow or whatever, like shady thing, like scary, smoky, ghosty thing. And she was like, no, this is perfect. It's close to the gallery, whatever. So they do this ghost story, and a device that they use in the film is puppets. It's like shadow puppets. And you can even sometimes see the hands that move the puppets. And it's so well done and so special and amazing because it makes you able to see trauma and violence in a way that doesn't trigger you. Like, or, okay, I can't say you, but for me, and also the conversation after that I watched was, you know, the showing the trauma without traumatizing using the shadow puppets. And so they tell the story, the lore of the woman, Helen Lyle, this white woman, grad student, and she and her partner were doing this thesis, and they were checking out what exactly was going on in Cabrini Green regarding Candyman. Is Candyman real? Is Candyman real? Everybody says he's real. He's real. They've read it in the papers. So, and they say how she was, in the story, there was a baby who was stolen, and they thought it was her because she had all this blood around her, and she cut off the head of a Rottweiler, and she stole the baby, but really she brought this baby out of this fire and back into the arms of the baby's mama named Anne Marie, and the baby was Anthony. But okay, well, I kind of spoiled it, but go with me. So they tell this story, and and they have this night, whatever, and then they go on about their lives. And there's some really fun, it's just like great to see, like, again, Black queer intersection. There's after he tells this creepy ass ghost story, he goes to get more wine, and Anthony is like, there's some Moscato in the fridge, and he's like, Moscato's a dessert wine. I love the humor in it, the gay humor. It's cute. So there's these luxury lofts, yada yada. Anthony goes out to get new inspiration for his art, and he's bitten by a bee. And as we know from the sequel, like, bee is one of the themes. So he's bitten by a bee by this church as he's taking photos of the church. And so, and the cinematography throughout this film is just incredible. The shots of Anthony and Cabrini Green and shadow, like images that you see of the Candyman. And so you also have this story of William Burke, who is someone who lived in Cabrini Green. And as a kid, one day he went to do laundry, and there was someone, in the neighborhood named Sherman, and he wore a hook. They thought he was the Candyman. And so some little white girl found a blade in her candy. And so they're like, okay, we got to find this Candyman. So they thought it was Sherman with the hook. They came, and the kid was doing laundry. Sherman came out of the wall. He had been living there, and the police brutally murder him. And then later on, Candy with razors keeps showing up. So he was not the Candyman. So, and that's William Burke's story from when he was a kid. And so he now is the owner of this laundromat, and he plays like the griot, the storyteller, the owner of the folklore in the community. And Anthony has continued interest and is trying to figure out, like, what is going on, why he's so inspired by this story and what's happening. And so Burke tells him that, there are stories going back into the 1890s. And if you know the original, this is a central theme of the original Candyman as well from 92, is the story of Daniel Boulatel or something like that. And he was, son of a former enslaved shoemaker, and he went to art school or something, and like had a quote unquote good upbringing, and then he was doing paintings and portraits of white people, and so he went to do this one woman to capture her virginal beauty, which gross. And he falls in love with her, and then he gets her pregnant, and then her father, they inflict violence upon him. And one of the things they do is they go to the nearby, like, bee aviary, I think it's called. And they took honeycombs and stuff and the bees, and they smothered it on him. And so he'd get stung by the bees in addition to the other violence. And how there were stories ever since then. I mean, it's not exclusively before or after, but, they're setting this story with him being the original Candyman, because eventually they sawed off his arm, stuck a hook in the bloody stump, and he kind of like resurrected as this Candyman lore. So, but Burke's point is that he's one of many. These stories, the violence that happens in the Black community, the death, the senseless death. And then, of course, you can relate like police violence today to the type of violence that would be going on, like lynching and things like that in like 1890s. So to give that historical setting for this film in a way that is much deeper than the original, and connecting to the projects in Cabrini Green and all of this, it's very... you don't feel like you're watching a horror film. Let me put it that way. It has all the elements, but it's so much deeper than that. So to try to be to try to be as brief about it as possible, essentially, Anthony creates this art exhibit where there's a mirror, and he creates this thing called Say My Name, and it's the Candyman. So you have to say the Candyman in the mirror 5 times. So he creates this as part of this art exhibit for this douchebag, like, white art dealer who's like, you need to be the next great hope of the next great Black hope of Chicago. And it's like, what the fuck? Just let me do my art, bitch. So he makes this exhibit, and then slowly people start dying at the hands of this exhibit. And there's an art critic who is really like, she was like, yeah, okay, gentrification, blah, blah. Like, aren't artists the real gentrifiers, blah. And it was like, wow, okay, that's not what this is about, but okay. And then as soon as the art gallery owner and his assistant or intern were killed by the Candyman in the art gallery, people start to take interest in Anthony's art. What is he doing? Who is this Candyman? What's happening? So she has him over to talk about it, and he's like, don't write me off. Like, I'm surprised you even asked me here, because you try to make gentrification about the artists. That's ridiculous. Gentrification is about zoning and law and no. So he dares her to say the Candyman's name 5 times in the mirror. And oh my God, it just gets so lit and amazing from there. And there's some elements throughout the, like, again, I don't want to like go too deep in, but he was stung on his hand, right? And slowly this wound is kind of like rotting his arm away. So, what is that about? Ellipses, question mark. And so it's crazy. And there's also this echoing sentiment that the Candyman is how the Black community deals with violent Black death. And that was also something that was a theme in the original. I'm going to jump. I don't want to give away like all the good shit. So I'm going to jump to the end. And it doesn't take away. Like, this storytelling is so beautiful. I highly recommend, again, if you're a Monkey Paw Productions fan, Jordan Peele fan, and you liked Get Out and Us, you're going to fuck pretty heavy with this movie. So, okay, so... okay, so there's a scenario. Okay, let's just put it that way. There's a scenario where there's violence, and it seems as though Anthony is turning into the next iteration of the Candyman at the hands of William Burke, who's kind of like lost his mind. So they're in this broken down, graffitied, empty Cabrini Green projects in one of the abandoned apartments. And so Brianna, who is dating Anthony McCoy, she gets caught up in all of this, and so she's there. She just cares about Anthony, wants him to be okay. So she's trying to kind of like save him. She calls 911. And of course, this was another great thing they touched on in the original, that even Helen Lyle, the white woman grad student, could deduct that the community wouldn't call the police because for fear of being shot and killed. Because the police weren't there. There's a great line William Burke says early on when he meets Anthony McCoy's character, which is like, then the police came after Candyman. The police came to keep him out or to keep us in. And it's like, yep, keep us in cages, keep people together and where there's no resources for them. So, excuse me, cops show up. And again, the use of shadow and color is the device of shadow and color is used in order to show us that the police roll up and then pop, shooting at. So I think they kill Anthony. I don't know if Burke is already dead, but they definitely roll up and like shoot Anthony. So she now has even more blood on her shirt. She's like trying to process the emotional trauma of what has just happened. They arrest her. They throw her in the back of the cop car. Oh my God. Should I give it away? Should I talk about it? I mean, yeah, I'm going to. So she asks the cops being a dick. He's like, yeah, Jones had to discharge his weapon because and like all this bullshit. And she's like, it's really heavy too, because earlier on in the film, you find out that her father, who was an artist as well, took his life. And so I would say the emotional labor done by Black women in emotional trauma, seeing Black men being the victim of police violence. Obviously women are too, and obviously queers, but like, yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy. So you're sitting in the car and he wants her to say something. He wants her to tell him what happened, as if it would matter. And she's like, I need to see myself in the mirror, the rear view mirror. So I love that this is going down in a cop car. And what does she do? She says, Candyman. I think she only says it 4 times, and he says, Candyman, the 5th time. And then so it's kind of like him, or like the ghost of him, or who. Like, it's very open into interpretation, like who it is, but it's definitely Anthony, and it's definitely Candyman. And he comes with his hook and just slaughters these police. So in a way, Burke kind of was doing his. It's hard to explain the logic, but you watch it and it all makes sense. And it's amazing. And Candyman also can like inflict violence without being visible in, I think, both of the films. So after he tears down these all these like cops and stuff, the door, she's cuffed, and the door to the car, it like clicks open. So, like he loves her and was like looking out for her and stuff. And so she walks out, she walks a little bit further down, and then they start playing the voice of Tony Todd from the original. And you see like this, I don't know, the ending is so cool. And it's just this film, there's so much in there. There's so many moments. Like, okay, there's a fun moment where it's community college, and one of the students had been to the gallery to see the exhibit, and so she gets a few of her friends to do it, say Candyman in the mirror, and they're kind of all like light skinned or like whatever, and this black girl comes in, and she's like definitely been made fun of by them and stuff, and they're like, yeah, it didn't work, whatever, but then the door is locked. So the black girl student is, kind of on the toilet and has her headphones on, and they play Jamila Woods. Is it I forget exactly what the name of the song is, but I loved this album so much when it came out. Oh, Bubbles. Like, there's so many good songs, and it was so great to hear like the Chicago, soul singer, like rap adjacent person in the headphones, as the headphones kind of like drop to the ground, or you hear that in the background as Candyman is doing his thing because he was summoned. And then there's this theme around like innocent blood being shed. So I'm going to pause and then say that after I watched this twice, and I will also say, for those of you who are scared to watch it, my mom was doing a puzzle in the room and not face towards the laptop, but we just got our speakers, and so she could hear it, and she heard the whole thing, and she wanted to watch it afterwards, and she ended up watching it with me when I watched it the second time. So then we both watched Candyman, the original, and I was surprised. Of course, there's some like sort of elements that are very, very, very 90s US, horror movie, like white bra, leather jacket, babysitting kind of moments and stuff like that. But they still do focus on the Cabrini Green community. And at the time, people lived there. I don't think people lived. Yeah. So at the time, if you rent on Amazon Prime, it's fun because they give you like background information, like general trivia or whatever. So the producers of the original Candyman had to make a deal with the gangbangers and like drug dealers in the Cabrini Green. And the deal was that they could get in the movie in exchange for letting them film there. So, and they pretty much left them alone, except for on the last day of shooting, a sniper like shot at a production van. And I think everyone was okay. But it's like, this is the level of like, I think here you have in 1992, coming out of like the 80s and the Reagan era and like war on drugs and this sort of stuff, you have kind of quote unquote innocent white folks trying to kind of like understand trying to understand what's going on, and you have you have these communities that are locked in, caged in by zoning again. And if you don't know what redlining is, definitely look up redlining. Redlining is policy. It's like discriminative policy that affects communities. So you could take a black community and make it a zone so that people within these redlined communities can't take out business loans, or there's certain things that aren't afforded to them that are afforded to their wealthier, whiter neighbors. So this has been used as a tool to systemically oppress Black and communities of color, Native, so I think that's important to think about, the fact that in 1992, even though, and also you have Tony Todd, a tall Black man, and you have this white woman, this kind of kind of, how to describe her character. I don't know. She definitely has her wits about her. And another side thing that's going on in the original is that her husband is definitely cheating on her with a student, and she's aware of that. And so the original really blew me away in the way that it addressed mental health. And I think by virtue of that, the second Candyman did such a great job of addressing like Black mental health. But it was cool because basically this white woman goes down there, checks things out. She summons the Candyman. She gets beat up. Then she gets put in these situations. And it's this whole thing about shedding innocent blood. Like, people say the Candyman sheds innocent blood, and that's all that matters. The Candyman represents rumors, represents violence that has been committed that hasn't been accounted for. And to talk about the shed of innocent blood and who is innocent, you know, I mean, you would say in the film, okay, the college kids, like, we didn't want to see them die, like, that kind of sucks. But also, who is daring, who has the privilege to dare to summon the Candyman? You know, it's things like this that I think the second one does so well. But in the first one, she goes into territory where she should never have gone, but there's this unfinished love story between this Black man painter and this white woman. So I think the sexual tones of the nature of the relationship of Tony Todd's character of Candyman and Helen Lyle, you know, Virginia Madsen, I think that is driving. I think that's I think it's like this story is playing out in the 1990s. The same story is playing out in the 1990s. It's just happening between the Candyman and this grad student. But there is so much to unpack, and I thought that the original was so good because eventually, so the Candyman, it's about rumor and about, like, you know, the shedding of innocent blood and what's happening. And so she finds herself, after summoning the Candyman one too many times, in these situations where people are dead or gone or bloody around her, and it looks like she did it. So eventually they arrest her and they commit her to, you know, the psychiatric ward, and they drug her, and they you know, and she has images of the Candyman being with her, and they're like, he clearly wasn't. And so it becomes this like, holy shit, is it in my mind? What the hell's happening? And there's a great scene in the psychiatrist's office in the mental institution where Candyman kind of comes in and saves her. She's in a situation where she's completely fucked, like, where, again, because of him, it looks like she has killed the psychiatrist. So she's able to escape and stuff. And then there's this scene where she goes back and her husband's with this young grad student and all this stuff. And there's a lot going on. But I think the biggest thing is you can tell that even though they centered it around real Black project and in the actual Black community and Candyman and Black violence, it's told by a white man. The story is told through the lens of a white man. And I think that having the story being told through the eyes of Black men and women is so powerful. They're reclaiming the film franchise. They're reclaiming the folklore. They're reclaiming the narrative about what it says about Black violence, about who's to blame. You know, gentrification. And there's a line from the second one that's like, stick around long enough and they'll give you a Whole Foods, you know, as like to the white critic. It's like so good. The script, they don't waste a line. There's so much in there. And again, it's not, if you're someone who feels traumatized by watching like Black movies about Black trauma, like for instance, I haven't seen Queen and Slim. I know I'm going to love this film, and I know it's going to be hard as well. And I'm in a vulnerable position lately, so I'm not ready to watch it right now unless I'm like with the right person or I'm ready or whatever. But Candyman is so special, and it brings so much. It just brings so much. I think you don't have to go back and watch the original, but it's just so cool. And if I was a teacher, I think I would totally do like a week in my curriculum around Candyman as lore, as a representation of how the Black community deals with violence, how communities deal with violence, oppressed communities. And yeah, I think I hit on everything I wanted to hit on. So hopefully getting better, getting a little more succinct. But yeah, definitely go to Amazon Prime or whatever and rent this film. And, you know, it's so good. It's so important. And I was so happy to pay the $10 to rent both films over the weekend. Because yeah, it's just really exciting and cool. So check it out. Candyman, directed by Nia DaCosta. I think screenplay written by Jordan Peele, Wynn Rosenfeld, and Nia DaCosta. And check out Little Woods too. Check out Nia DaCosta's work. I love these people so much. And that's going to be that for the film section. Hey, listen, sometimes you gotta check in with yourself.
Check in with yourself.
Okay, hey, I'm back. Thanks for sticking with me for High Power Mode, where I talk about music, TV, and film. Yeah, this is Low Power Mode with Breezy. I feel like I need to be saying that more. Welcome back to Low Power Mode with Breezy. So, sure. And yeah, this is my little outro section, Come Back Home. So I want to check in. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Have you checked in with your inner child lately? I've checked in with mine. Damn, you know, I guess I want to say it's okay to be dealing with trauma that you're not dealing with in the moment. Like, I guess that's what PTSD is, but like when you're still triggered and traumatized and living your life from forces that are no longer there. So shout out to those people. I also wanted to, like, in terms of gaslighty situations in being independent in the music industry, I want to bring attention to this thing where I've been going back and forth with DistroKid since I released Mulatto Madness in October 2019 on Halloween. And so immediately, you know, you go and check and everything on YouTube and make sure everything's where it needs to be. And my music ended up on somebody else's channel. So I contacted that person. I did these forms that DistroKid had, providing the correct links. Nothing ever happened. Nothing ever came of it. And then my mom, since I got sick, since I really needed help with my health, my mom has helped me a lot, and she is really good at administrative stuff. So she helped me kind of get back in touch with DistroKid about these issues. But essentially, YouTube has this thing where you can be like an official artist. You can have an official artist channel, but you need a certain amount of things in order to do that. And then they have like this YouTube partner program, and you need 1,000 subscribers. And once you are a part of the YouTube partner program and you have 1,000 subscribers, then you're allowed to like make money on your channel. You can do ads, you can do these sorts of things, but also they'll respond to you and provide help if you have 1,000 subscribers. I know this makes sense from their perspective, like they can't possibly, no, but I'm going to say no, they can't. It's like if you have a business, then you should be able to respond and have people's shit end up on the right channel going through music distribution that you're affiliated with. So how it works is when I make a song, I can get it mastered or technically master it myself, but and then you can put it through distribution. So popular ones like CD Baby, DistroKid, TuneCore, if you're independent, you can just do it yourself. You can subscribe to one of these things and pay either a certain amount per month or per year, whatever, for a certain amount of uploads, whatever. And they'll make sure all your stuff gets to Shazam and Spotify and Apple Music, and people can tag your music on Instagram and all that stuff. So I went with DistroKid in 2019, and because it was the music that I went through distribution through them that ended up on the wrong channel of YouTube, which they don't control, there is nothing that they can do apparently. And it's extremely frustrating because, Groovyie actually told me that his marketing person told him like YouTube is like people go everywhere for YouTube. Everyone goes to YouTube for everything. You need to a dress. You need to change a tire. Like you can just pull up a YouTube thing on your phone and learn how to do it. So as people who make music, if you can organize all your shit on there, then that's really important. And for me, YouTube wasn't as much of a priority as like Spotify and my Bandcamp and that sort of thing. So now as I'm trying to reorganize my YouTube and make everything good, it's like, okay, I uploaded Tragic Mulatto EP myself because I didn't put it through music distribution because I didn't feel like it was good enough, like production wise. It wasn't mastered, it was just like, But with Mulatto Madness, now this other person has it on their channel, so I can't display it on my channel. And for an artist in music during Corona, this is infuriating, especially to have been trying to resolve this issue for so many years. So YouTube won't help me unless I have over 1,000 subscribers. And DistroKid, all they could do was give me this manual application escalation form that I filled out, and they're like, okay, it may take several months for your YouTube to respond. Like we can't really have any. There's no way to like follow up essentially, and so I posted about it and I wrote an email. We were already emailing back and forth, me and DistroKid, but I posted on my Instagram because I was so pissed. And then someone posted underneath and was like, maybe this helps. And it was a video about this similar issue happening to somebody else on YouTube. And now I'm like, damn, I should just look at YouTube videos that talk about this. But am I feeding the cycle? It's just, I'm just going to say it, it's low power mode. This is my safe space. It is so hard to be independent, to be like kind of like femme in hip hop, that's already so niche. And then on top of that, you have to deal with shit like this over the course of years that prevents you from properly putting out the shit that you work so hard for and have copyright and license to, like I I can sign with a label. I'm sure I can find a label to sign me. For them to handle all of this stuff. But I want to be in control of my shit, especially my music. Own your masters. And so I won't sign with a label, and I'm happy about that. But when you're living in a climate where, okay, your music you pay for a service, your music ends up on somebody else's YouTube channel who has like over 1,000 subscribers and could contact YouTube about this, who I've reached out to. And on top of that, Spotify and Apple Music, and where I pay for this distribution service to put my music, the music is so devalued. Yes, it's accessible, but we all know at this point it takes so many streams in order to make $1 through these streaming services. So for me, trying to do this in my own way, do my artistry and put out my art in my own way, and having to deal with these big tech companies like Spotify, like YouTube, like DistroKid. I mean, it's music distribution, but it's still technology services. So it's just a fucking nightmare. And, hopefully I get to the point where I can bring like a business manager, social media manager on board to work with me and like help me with these things. But being in a position where I can't perform and even the shit I put online is not being properly credited to me. It's enough to make me pull my fucking hair out. So shout out to anyone else who's dealing with this problem, and shame on you. Shame on you, both DistroKid and YouTube, for making me feel this way, for making me feel crazy, and for not making me feel like, even DistroKid, if it's not your fault, you could have been apologetic. You could have been like, I'm so sorry. There is nothing we can do. But like there's nothing, but the thing is, they can't even ensure in the future that this won't happen again. So how am I supposed to go with the service, Shitty. Anyway, that's going to wrap up I don't want to copy the read. That was not necessarily like meant to be a read, even though it was a check-in on where I'm at, and that's where I'm at. So I want to remind you that the media links of all of the stuff that I talked about in the podcast will be like, why can't I just like not talk after a while? Can be located in the description of the podcast episode. And this podcast is exclusively on Patreon because I'm sick of giving my shit away for free. Kind of. But also, I want to develop a better, I want to develop like a more real relationship. I think with music, people can put you up on a pedestal real quick and treat you like you're not human, and take and take and take. So this is a way for me to reclaim my art and my love of like Black and POC and queer and intersectional feminist and non-binary and femme and all of this stuff. Like, this is my space for that. So if you're looking for any of that, come back next week. And subscribe and share with anyone who you think would benefit from this podcast. And sending so much love to everyone, especially my artists out here in the Corona climate. Like, keep your head up. You're doing great. Just surviving means you're doing great. So do what you need to do. Smoke that extra blunt. Take a bath. eat, I don't know, like it depends on where you live, what I would recommend to eat, but eat something delicious and and dive into this art. It makes me feel better, at least. All right, so that's Low Power Mode with Breezy signing out.
I've been in low power mode. In low power mode. Been in low power mode all year. Think it's time to switch it up to high gear. I've been in low. I've been in low power mode all year. Think it's time to switch it up to high gear.